In this video, we're going to be taking a look at creating the rhinestone design for our SV logo here. Every logo has its own unique challenges and different ways we approach when we do our design work, and so we've created this real-world logo series where we're taking many different types of logos and showing you how we would go about creating a rhinestone design using the tools and features here in EasyStone. So first of all, we have to understand some of the parameters given to us by our customer. One of those parameters is that the customer wants the finished product to be 3 inches overall width. They would like to use all SS10 stones if at all possible. And the other design consideration for me is I wanted the letter S to appear as though it was on top of the letter V. This wasn't a requirement for the customer, just something that I wanted as we begin our design work here. So with these thoughts in mind, we can go ahead and begin the design process. The first thing that we need to do is size our graphic, our bitmap, to an appropriate size. So what we need to do is grab our 2-point line tool here, and then just draw out a horizontal line. And you can see that that line is roughly 2 inches. So a little design tip for you. If we take the size that we want, which is 3, divided by the size that we have, which is 2, that gives us 1.5. And what that basically tells us is if we were to take the entire design and scale it 150% in this case, then the line, the reference line that we drew, is roughly 3 inches wide. And so now our bitmap is scaled to the size that we need. Now the next thing here is to right click on our bitmap and lock it down so we don't accidentally move it. So then we're going to choose a stone color, which I'm going to choose, let's use cobalt blue for this example. We're going to change our stone size here to SS10 size, which is 3.4. And we're going to use this function right here called drop stone. And all that does is drop a single stone into our document that is precisely 3.4 millimeters. And now we can begin our design work. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick a point that I know I'm not going to stray from. And that point for me for this design is right there. And then what we're going to do is come over to our stone fill tab, and we're going to hit the up arrow a couple of times. And now you can see that we've strayed from the original artwork a little bit, but I would like to do that versus spacing these stones out farther apart. Then we're going to take those 4 and shift them over. And so now we've kind of created this little tail on our letter S. So we're well on our way to getting this design done. The next thing I'm going to do here is just click, 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 shifting those stones over a certain amount. Now I'm going to stop right there and take a look at this design. See these 3 stones right here? I want those to line up on our letter V. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these and we're going to focus on those 3 stones and shift them over. So now you can kind of see they're right there on that letter V. And that's what I'm going to do for this design. So now I'm going to come over 1 more stone width, like so. And I'm going to create that 45 over here. So you can see now that that 45 is created. And we just kind of let the stones guide us, so to speak. So we're going to take these 3 stones and we're going to shift up. And, you know, I don't know how much. You know, we're getting a little carried away here. But now we need to focus on the top part of our letter V here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to delete a couple of stones here. And I'm going to focus right here. Again, these 3 stones here, I'm going to shift those. So I'm going to hold Alt-Shift and nudge them over. And that's basically where they would be. And then we're just going to take these and offset 1, 2, 3, like so. And then we're going to take these 3 stones, and we're going to offset 1. And then we're going to take these 3 stones and offset to the right. So now you can kind of see how this is coming together a little bit. What we do need to do, we're going to delete that stone because we don't need that stone there. All right, so now you can kind of see our letter V has been dictated there. Now, going horizontally for our letter S, we need 3 stones. Okay? But if I were to offset these right now, which I will do, you can see that there's no space at the top of our letter V and our letter S. So we need extra space there. So what we have to do is we have to stray from the original artwork, and we're going to nudge all those stones up to create that space that we need. So let's just nudge all that up, just like so. And now we just have that little bit of definition that we need. Okay? So we'll go ahead and create this 45-degree angle on this side. And these stones here, we're just going to select that whole vertical row there, Shift A. Select the next row, Shift A. And that just spaces those stones perfectly apart. And then we'll select all of these. I'm selecting one, holding my Shift key, selecting the others, and again, Shift A to space those vertically. Now, we'll go ahead and create that 45-degree angle on this side. Just wanted to make sure I'm doing it right here. Yes, I am. All right. Just had to get my bearings there. And now we're going to go up 4. So we'll just hit 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to come over, grab 3 stones, and then we're going to come over horizontally. All right, so we're going to create our 45-degree angle over here. Delete a couple stones, and then we're going to come down 1 right there. Again, we need that same amount of space right there. So again, I would just come in here and we'll add a little bit of space there, a little bit of definition there, just eyeballing it, and I think that'll work fine. So then back over here, same thing. Shift A, select the next row, Shift A, select the next row, Shift A. So that spaces all those stones apart like we need them to be. We're going to delete a stone here, create that little notch, and then same thing down here, create that little notch. Now, if we look at what we have, then you can see what we have now. We have that spacing around our letter V like we need, and you can see our letter S looks really good. So now we'll go ahead and finish up our letter V here. We're going to take these 3 stones, copy them down here, and then we're going to select this stone here at this angle, go over here to our stone tab, Shift Add Stones, and then we're going to take that and make some duplicates, snapping right to the center of those stones. And then what we need to do is we need to flip that result. So we're going to come up here, select all of our V stones here, select this 3 rows here, and then grab this control handle and pull it over with our control key. That will flip it, that will mirror it, and then if we right click, it will create a duplicate. Little Corel Draw techniques, once you get them down pat, will make it really easy to do your design work. So now we just kind of need to fill in the gaps here using that Shift Add Stone technique. And now our gaps are filled in. So that takes care of that. Now what we're going to do is copy the whole works down here, and then we can take a good look at it. So what we need to do is select the entire design, delete stone paths, select the entire design, come to the editing tab, and choose that check spacing feature. There's 10 overlapping objects. We'll go ahead and dispose of those. Now we need to create the outline for the SV. We have a tool that will help us with that. So we're going to come over here to our Specialty tab. We've selected the entire design, and we're going to use this tool called the Create Decal Cut Line. And so we're going to click on that, and what that will do is it'll create a contour cut line as if we're doing this for a rhinestone decal. Let's go ahead and give it a color so we can see it. You can see it's green now. And now what we're going to do is just pull over some guidelines. So I'm just going to start with the horizontal guidelines here. So we're just going to use that contour cut line as a bit of a guide here. So we'll first start with all of our horizontal guidelines. So we need one there. And then what we'll do is we'll do our horizontals. Need one there. And we'll put one there. And then we'll pull one down here. So that takes care of all of the vertical and all of the horizontal guidelines. Now, for the guides at angle, we actually have a guideline tool that I use quite often. And this has a nifty tool in it called Guided Angle. And what it allows us to do, it allows us to pick 2 points, and then it'll create a guideline at that angle. And so I tend to use this a lot, especially when we're wanting to place guides at an angle. You can do it in CorelDRAW, but it's a little bit more involved when you're doing guidelines at angles. So we have the existing geometry here. So when we hit guided angle, we can just click 2 points, and it creates that guideline at that angle for us. Very handy feature. So we're just going to keep going here. And we have one more horizontal guideline here. There we go. So then I can come in here and I can actually just get rid of my decal cut line. We don't need that anymore. If I can make sense of all these guidelines, and sometimes it is a little tricky, but let's go ahead and just come in here and just start drawing out our line. And so again, we just have to remember what's what here as we go through. See that little down arrow? That's a connection arrow, and we want to make sure as we're drawing these lines that we get that connection arrow. So here we don't really have the line that we need, the horizontal guideline, so I just guessed, but that's okay. I'm a pretty good guesser. But the rest of it here, we should have what we need. So we'll just keep going up here, snapping right at that intersection, making sure that downward arrow, before we click, there it is, there's that downward arrow. Now we can click and drag. Downward arrow, come over here where those two intersect there. And this could get a little interesting here because I don't know what's what, but we can guess pretty good. There it is. Then we can come down here, and we can zoom in and out as we're going along too, which is helpful. So we'll hit that down arrow, that little tiny little segment there, and we'll come over here, downward angle, downward angle, and finally back to the original. All right, let's go ahead and clear out all of our guidelines because those just confuse us. All right, so there is our outline now. So we're going to go ahead and double click on that outline, and we're going to select all those nodes. And let's go back over here to Easy Stone here and go to the Editing tab and choose the Break at Node function. And then in the Stone tab, we'll go in here and we'll pick our new stone color, which is crystal, and we're going to go back and choose Add Stones. Now you can see it added stones along our path there. So we're going to select the entire thing and just hit this option, Delete Stone Paths, and take a look at the result that we get. If we want to make some small adjustments, now is the time to do that. So for example, I might want to see if I could fit an extra stone here, even though it might be a little bit tight. Let's try it. Nope, you can't. Well, I'll tell you what, let's delete a couple here. Let's take a look here. Yeah, it's tight, but I like that. So I'm going to back out here, and I'm going to take care of any duplicates that were created when we created that outline. So over the Editing tab, check Spacing. That takes care of those duplicates. Now we can make those little adjustments. So along the bottom here, a little bit of a gap there. Let's go ahead and clean that up. Shift P to space stones horizontally. That takes care of that. That looks good. Let's see here. I don't know if I could fit an extra stone in here, but if we can, it'd be nice. Shift A to for stones vertically. Now you see that? That's a little bit tight there, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to cheat it. So we're going to select those stones, and we can cheat a little bit, and you won't even see it. So we'll cheat a little bit down. Let's see, add a little bit of spacing there. So you can cheat here and there to make it a little bit better. And same thing here, we're going to cheat a little bit. Shift P. And then these stones at this angle here, let's go ahead and add an extra one in there. So we're going to select the first and last stone. Use a handy little function here, Shift Create Selection. We'll select all those stones at that angle, and then we'll go ahead and use that respace feature to space those stones out. And I think that looks pretty good. So what we're going to do here is just reposition this, Shift P again. See, really simple little changes like that makes a big difference. So let's go over to the Miscellaneous tab. Let's add a weed box. And then we need to add that decal cut line again. This time I usually use 3 millimeters for my rhinestone decals. So let's go ahead and create that decal cut line. Now you see that those little tiny gaps in there? We're going to get rid of those by hitting Shift Create Decal Cut Line. That takes care of all those islands. So this contour cut line is what we would use for our Easy Stick decal material. And then we could go ahead and apply our stones to it. So there is the finished work. Let's just go ahead and select all of our stones here and hit Simulate. And that's pretty much it. Now what we did do by the customer request is we did come in here and make a small change. We simply took one of these stones because they wanted another line of stones in here that matched the outline. So we hit Resize Replace first of all, and then we hit the Rename and Fill, and then we'll go ahead and choose the Simulate function as long as we're here. Well, I'll tell you what, let's hit Resize Replace. There we go. Then we can hit Simulate. All right. And then all we're going to do is just copy this over a few times, like so. And maybe one more time. And select these. And we're going to space them horizontally, so that Shift P function, and slide them over a little bit. So we added one little bit of row stones there, just to add the definition to make it more similar to the original logo. And then what we did is we just came down here and we added a few as well. So we just grabbed a couple stones at that angle and actually went into editing mode, so we'll hit finish editing this level. And then I added a couple stones going up this direction. And again, I would select these, straighten them all out using that respace feature. That'll straighten those stones at that angle. There we go. So that is basically our finished product, but those had to be SS6 stones to fit inside there and to make it look right. And if we look at our overall size of our design with the decal contour, you can see that we're right at 3.5 inches. So that's just about right. If we selected just the stones themselves, you can see we're 3.25. So really close to what the client asked for originally at 3 inches. And that, that's acceptable for us. So I hope you enjoyed taking a look at this design process, learned a little bit of something how to utilize the tools here in EasyStone, and definitely take a look at our other logos in the Real World Logo series so you can get a better idea how to approach different types of logos and use the tools here inside EasyStone to create them very easily here inside CorelDRAW. Thanks for watching.